Welcome back to another video. In this lesson, we are going over confirmation in higher time frame zones. So here we have scenario one. Okay, actually, let me do this. This is scenario two. Oh, I already have scenario two up there. Okay, scenario two. So scenario one, we're looking at a daily rejection zone, which is going to be, you're going to use the line chart and you're going to do your daily SNR level. Okay, so whatever the highest high is or whatever your daily, if this was a daily, you would mark out your daily and you would highlight the wick of that daily zone. Okay, just the wick. So from the close to the wick, you're going to highlight that entire zone. Or you can do, your supply candle if there is one available. You can use that if you'd like. But in this instance, we're just going to be using the line chart. So this, if you can pretend this was a line, this is a wick above, and this is where the wick goes. Okay, so that's your rejection zone. Okay, so when that happens, we're waiting for a price to reach that daily rejection zone. Then we have an H4 rejection confirmation. We need to wait for the confirmation of this. Okay, we can't just enter. This is why QMs are high risk if you don't wait for confirmation, but you can still take a QM play inside this. Just know that it's going to be high risk. Okay. But what we're looking for is an engulfing pattern to confirm a rejection on H4 in the daily zone. Okay, now let's say you were on an H4 chart, you would just drop down a time frame and this would be H1. If you're on an H1, you drop down to M15. M15, you drop down to M5. M5, drop down to 1 minute and seconds. Okay, but in this case, for the highest probability, because the higher time frame is stronger, we're waiting for that H1 rejection or H4 rejection zone. And then after this is completed, after we get the closure of this 4-hour candle, what we're going to look for is this, okay? A QMC, a SNR1, SNR2, whatever the setup is inside this zone, that's what we're going to take to the downside, okay? So most traders, what they're doing is they're getting in and they're waiting on M1. They're not waiting for any sort of confirmation. This here needs to close outside of the rejection zone. Okay, if there's an engulfing inside, it doesn't count. It has to close outside of the rejection zone or outside of the supply candle. Okay, so in this case here, right, we have to wait for the H4 rejection, then look for the setup on the lower time frames. Okay, scenario two. What do we have? Same scenario, except what happens in here is we don't get any rejection confirmation. So what do we get instead is an engulfing pattern. Same scenario, it's just now this is a breakout. Okay, now when this breakout happens, okay, we need to wait for that pullback. Okay, so this is going to be a step 2 process. You need to wait for the pullback. And at this point here, you're going to need another H4 confirmation of an engulfing. Okay. So this is going to be part 2 of this. So this one has one step where you just wait for the H4 rejection. This one, we have a breakout confirmation, right? And then we need another confirmation because this is a retest, right? So this is a breakout retest with confirmation. And then after this, we look for our lower time frame setups. Okay, so this is a 2-part. This is part 1 where we have to wait for the confirmation that we're breaking out. Then we need to wait for the pullback confirmation. Okay, so this is a pullback confirmation where you're waiting for H4 to continue higher. Now, what are we targeting? So this is daily resistance. So we're going to just be targeting the weekly resistance. Okay, that's it. You're just going to be targeting weekly resistance. So from daily to weekly. Now, if you're on H4, you're going to be targeting daily, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so same thing. You're just dropping down timeframes. But this is how you can anticipate if this high is going to get taken or not. We're going to wait for confirmation. If it wants to take that high, engulf the structure and then pull back, give us another confirmation. Then we look for the lower time frame setup at this point here. So this is phase 2 of the phase 1. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then on the next video, we'll go over setup confirmation.